Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Gunachari Jamuna Tira Gunachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gaur Premanandi Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Sa Esha Yardhi Prakriter Guneshu Abhivisajate Aham Kriya Vimudatma Kartasmiti Abhimanyate Saesha Yahi Prakriter Guneshvabhivasajate Aham Kriya Vimudatma Kartasmiti Abhimanyate Sa, that very living entity. Esha, this. Yarhi, when. Prakrite, of material nature. Guneshu, in the modes. Abhivisajate, is absorbed. Aham Kriya, by false ego. Vimuda, bewildered. Atma, the individual soul. Karta, the doer. Asmi, I am. Iti, thus. Abhimanyate, he thinks. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. When the soul is under the spell of material nature and false ego, identifying his body as the self, he becomes absorbed in material activities. and by the influence of false ego, he thinks that he is the proprietor of everything. Purport. Actually, the conditioned soul is forced to act under the pressure of the modes of material nature. There's purport we're going to read and speak. The conditioned soul is forced to work under the pressure of material nature. Means that the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are forcing the soul to act in so many different ways. We are all thinking that we are independent and that we have selected how we are going to act, what we are going to say, what things we prefer to do. But actually, we are not the deciders of any of these things. This has already been decided by the modes of material nature. As soon as the soul becomes conditioned by Maya, then the soul becomes a slave to Maya. And so it is already determined what kind of people you like, what kind of food you like, what kind of cars you like, what kind of television shows you like. Everything is already programmed. Because once you give up your purity, once you lose your pure Krishna consciousness, then whatever type of modes of material nature you associate with, that is the type of enjoyments that you're going to seek after. Just like we see, people of a similar consciousness, they enjoy the same type of music. They enjoy the same type of clothing styles. They enjoy the same type of friends. The saying is, birds of a feather flock together. So the feather means the consciousness. People, living entities with a similar type of consciousness, associate with the similar objects of the senses. And there's really no question of free choice. Once you suspend once you give up your service to Krishna, you're under the grip of Maya. You're imprisoned. Now once you're in prison, where's the question of freedom, of choice? The prisoner has to do what he's told. He has to get up at a certain time. He has to march in file in a certain place. He has to eat a certain kind of food. He's a slave. He's a prisoner. So we're all imprisoned by the modes of material nature. But what is amazing is that we think that we are free. I think it was Yugadharma was said, what is the most wonderful thing, was asked. And he said the most wonderful thing is that although everybody is dying, your father dies, your father's father died, your father's father's fathers have died, but yet you think that you will live forever. This is wonderful. So it is also similarly wonderful that we think we are free to do what we want, and you are not at all free. Because here it mentions the conditioned soul is forced to act under the pressure of the modes of material nature. It's just like someone has a gun on your head. If someone is holding a gun on your head, how much freedom you have. Whatever they tell you to do, you're going to do. So Maya is doing the same. Maya has a gun on our head. And we have no free choice. We're acting exactly on the order of Maya. Prabhupada continues, the living entity has no independence. When he is under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is free. But when under the impression that he is satisfying his senses, he engages in sense gratificatory activities, he is actually under the spell of material nature. This word spell sounds like a witch casts their spell. We sometimes hear how the witches are casting a spell on someone. So sometimes Maya is called a witch. Jiv Jago, Jiv Jago Gora Chandrabhava. The translation to that song is, you are sleeping, wake up, sleeping soul, wake up, sleeping soul. You are sleeping in the lap of the witch called Maya. So we are all sleeping in Maya's lap. And the spiritual master and the sadhus are calling to us, wake up. One who wakes up is actually free. Otherwise, now, we are simply living out the dream of Maya. This type of material life that we are living in is simply Maya's illusion. It is not real waking life. Real waking life means where you will to serve Krishna, where you actually make your destiny. Otherwise, at present time, we are not the makers of our destiny. The destiny is already determined. Someone asked me the other night at that outside program, what is destiny? They wanted to know. They said that if there's free will, then how is it that Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, you might as well fight and kill them because they're already put to death. All these soldiers are already dying, dead. Yes, they're already dead because they have already surrendered to Maya, therefore we can expect exactly what will happen to them. Just like it is said in the Gita, for one who is born, death is certain. And for one who dies, birth is certain. So once you are caught up in this, you see, in this grip of Maya's control, really you don't have freedom. And what is this life? You are forced to sleep, you are forced to eat, you are forced to mate, you are forced to defend, you are forced to suffer. You are being forced to do so many things against your will. You are forced to grow old, you are forced to get diseases, you are forced to die. And what is the question of freedom? This is not free life. And yet, when we are told that if you take the Krishna consciousness, you can get free from all of these different imprisonments, where our answer is no thank you. I prefer to be a slave to Maya than to practice some tapasya, austerity, of getting up early in the morning at 3 or 3:30, of coming to the temple, of associating with the devotees. Those things are too much painful. I prefer to die. I prefer to grow old. You mean to tell me that it is more painful to come to the morning program and sing and dance in association with devotees than to grow old and die? Are you really serious that you think that it is more pleasant to grow old and die than to get up early and sing and dance with devotees? Then just see how confused we are. So far I know, people work very hard all week long to be able to go out on the weekend and sing and dance. Now we are singing and dancing every morning, and someone is saying, no thank you, I'd rather grow old and die. If this is definitely Maya, this means Maya has got us. It is a spell. Just like the witch casts a spell and you don't know what is happening. When the witch puts the spell on you, you can't understand what the problem is. Maya is like that. You will be in Maya and you will not know you are in Maya. Prabhupada said that the sign of that you are not in Maya is when you say, actually I'm in Maya. When you say I'm in Maya, then you know you're not in Maya. But when you think I'm not in Maya, that's when you're really in Maya. When you think that I am Krishna conscious, then you are not Krishna conscious. But when you realize your shortcomings, your faults, then you are becoming Krishna conscious. That humility is very important for a devotee. That honesty and humility is very important. In Bhagavad Gita it is said, Prakrite Kriyamanani. One acts according to the particular modes of nature that he has acquired. When you take your birth, you get a certain type of body with certain types of senses and a certain kind of mind. As soon as you get your birth, it is all determined by your past lifetime, your past consciousness in the last lifetime. It will say what kind of body you're going to get now. So maybe you get a tiger's body. Tiger's body means you have big teeth and they like to drink blood. That is a tiger's body. And a tiger looks for the she-tiger for sex life. That is a tiger's body. A tiger has eyes that look for deer and other animals to kill. That is a tiger. Or maybe you'll get a vulture's body. The big bird that flies up in the air, 5 miles up in the air. And your whole business of eyes will be to look for dead corpses. Or maybe you'll get a smaller bird's body, sparrow body. And you look, where is the worm? Your eyes will look for worm. Or maybe you'll get a man's body, and then your eyes will look for women. It's already determined by the kind of body you get. The consciousness dictates the kind of body. So we're already under a spell. We're tied in. We're locked in. We're not free. But when the living being says, no, I'm not going to look for a deer to eat. I'm not going to look for a dead corpse. I'm not going to look for a worm. I'm not going to look for a woman. I'm going to look at Krishna. I'm going to use my eyes and my senses to see Krishna. That is exercising your free will. Now you are breaking out of the spell of Maya. And this is what Krishna consciousness means. It means forcefully breaking the spell of Maya. Not that it will come of its own. Do not think that on your own you'll wake up from this spell. This is the kind of spell you don't wake up from, this sleeping potion, unless someone forcefully shakes you. Who is that person who forcefully shakes? He's called the guru. And what does he do? He chants a mantra that wakes you up from the spell. That is Hare Krishna mantra. And then he teaches you how to chant that mantra so that you can keep waking yourself up. This is the business of the guru. And this is what the guru does. And then when we teach how to avoid the 10 offenses, it's so that the chanting will actually keep you awakened. Because if you chant, as we have been speaking these last 4 days, if you chant committing the 10 offenses, you can go on chanting for eternity and you'll still be in Maya's grip. Isn't it what we have read? Isn't it? That the chanting will have no effect if you don't chant properly. You'll still be moping around. You'll still be in sleeping consciousness. This is a scientific process. How to place the senses, awaken the senses by fixing them on Krishna. In the Nectar of Devotion, you'll read so many chapters about stimulation of love. Stimulating. Stimulating means to excite. How to excite your attraction for Krishna. Do you know the Nectar of Devotion? Have you read the book? Are you aware of it? If you're not, then what are you? Some kind of make-believe devotee? A neophyte person who simply parades around and masquerades as a devotee? Or are you serious to wake yourself up and get out of the grip of Maya? Then you better learn the science of Krishna. Do you know what Krishna's hair looks like? Do you know what Krishna's eyes look like? Do you know what kind of belt Krishna wears? Do you know what kind of flute Krishna plays? If you don't, then how do you call yourself Krishna conscious? You know what your wife looks like. You know how she wears her hair, how she wears her belt. So you're wife conscious, or husband conscious, or child conscious, or car conscious. But who is Krishna conscious? Who knows the science of Krishna? It is not a secret. It is clearly given in Prabhupada's books. But if you don't read these books, how you will expect to become Krishna conscious? You think it just happens by magic? That one day the whole thing falls into your brain and you learn everything magically? No. We are forcing the children, go to school, learn. Well, what about us? We're not going to learn? This is not a school that we have to learn? These are not textbooks that we have to study? Or you think, I know everything already. No, you won't know everything already. It is not simply if you do service and you think automatically it's going to come to you. This comes by studying. And when you study these books, then your love for Krishna will gradually wake up. And when you're fully Krishna conscious, when you love Krishna, then you'll know everything. But until that time, it's called sadhana bhakti. Most people in this movement hardly begin sadhana bhakti. They make a little beginning and then they stop. They think, okay, I did enough. I learned to say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, and that's all I'm going to do. Most people stop there. Very few devotees pursue Krishna consciousness seriously until the point of love of God. Manusyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaya yatatamapi siddhanam kaschid mam veti tattvataha. Most persons don't go so far. I wonder how many of you have read and carefully all of Prabhupada's books. Not once, but many times. Do you think that you can learn these books reading one time? And I don't think most of you have read the books one time. The Krishna consciousness is not such a simple little thing. It is a big science. And it has to be carefully executed in order to get the result. Guna refers to the qualities of nature. He is under the qualities of nature, but he falsely thinks that he is the proprietor. The false sense of proprietorship can be avoided simply by engaging oneself in devotional service under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his bona fide representative. The big problem is that we think that we are boss. We think we are proprietor. This is my house, this is my family, this is my body, this is my. We already heard about this consciousness of me and mine. There's a big Maya, the consciousness of me and mine. It's a very big Maya. A devotee thinks nothing is mine. A devotee thinks I'm not the master, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant. Krishnadas Kaviraj says, if you say anything good about me, you're going to hell, because there's nothing good about me to say. He said, I'm lower than a worm and stool. How many devotees sitting here think of themselves lower than a worm and stool? And how many people think of themselves as being very good and very important? But a real Vaishnava, the more you become advanced as a Vaishnava, the more humble and lowly you think yourself. Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita was trying to accept for himself the responsibility for killing his grandfather and teacher in the fight, but he became freed from the proprietorship of action when he acted under the direction of Krishna. He fought, but he was actually freed from the reactions of fighting, although in the beginning, when he was non-violent, unwilling to fight, the entire responsibility was upon him. A beautiful point. Prabhupada has made a beautiful point here. You remember in the beginning of the Gita, Arjuna didn't want to fight. Why didn't Arjuna want to fight? Because Arjuna thought, if I fight, I'm going to have to kill my grandfather and my other teachers. And if I do that, if I kill all of them, think of the terrible reactions that are going to befall me. Now, what did Krishna teach Arjuna? Fight under my order and you won't get any reaction. Because I am telling you to do it, because you are doing it for me, all reactions, whatever they may be, I will take up. You don't get any of them. It's a beautiful point. This means that when a devotee acts on behalf of Krishna, there is no karmic reactions. But what is the problem? Too often we act for the false ego. You cannot think that just because now I'm initiated, or just because now I'm a member of ISKCON, automatically everything I do is Krishna conscious. It may be that even when you chant Hare Krishna, you're not being Krishna conscious. We have already heard for 4 days about how when you're chanting Hare Krishna sometimes you can be a first-class offender. So just because we wear tilak and we are counting ourselves as devotees doesn't necessarily mean that we're getting freed from karmic reactions. If you're not acting purely, if you're not acting in proper Krishna consciousness, just rubber stamping you ISKCON or a devotee of Krishna isn't going to protect you. And that's why you'll see so many devotees fall down. So many devotees start off in a big way. We call them shooting stars. This movement is full of shooting stars. You know what a shooting star is? It appears up in the sky very brightly for a while, and everybody looks at it, and then what happens? It shoots out of everybody's sight, and you can't see it anymore. This movement is full of shooting stars, histories of shooting stars. People who did big service and who were very prominent, and then everybody says, what happened to so-and-so? Where did they shoot off to? They had all the signs. They were wearing tilak, they were chanting japa, wearing dhoti, sari. They're doing everything that everybody else was doing, but they're not here. That means that unless you understand really what is devotional life from these books and practice it very carefully, you'll fall away. You'll commit Vaishnava aparad, you'll commit Guru aparad, you'll commit Nam aparad. And when you commit aparad or offense, you go. You get kicked out by Krishna. This path of sadhana bhakti is very strict. I'm telling you 100 times over that, if you don't come and go through the whole morning program, you are finished. I guarantee it. I will state it on the microphone and for the recordings. Anyone that doesn't go through a morning program is finished. If you don't do it at the temple, then you've got to do it at home. If you don't do every morning all of the different parts of sadhana bhakti, I'm putting it in writing, one day you won't be sitting here. I can put it in writing, like a post-dated check that will cash anytime you want it. This is scientific process. Science. It doesn't change. There are certain things you have to do. All those things are in the morning program. If you miss the morning program, you can miss your Krishna consciousness. That's why we've been hearing every day. You can be a first-class karmi. It means you can get so many results. You can be a first-class jnani. You can know all the books. You can do all kinds of service and work. You can know all the books. You can do a million other things. But if you don't do the basic things of sadhana, you won't get the goal, bhakti. And that's what's happening. And people don't understand why. Because they're in Maya's hands. Because they're neophyte, and they forget very quickly what is the instruction of Guru. But what's the first and most important instruction the spiritual master gives? Chant 16 rounds and go to the morning program. And if you say you cannot go to the morning program, then you do the morning program in your home. Nobody can stop you from doing morning program in your home. There's nothing to stop you from getting up at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in your home and going through a whole morning program in 2 hours. Who's stopping you? If you say, I can't afford the time to come to the temple, but then do it at home. Have your Mangal Arati at home. Worship Tulsi at home. Recite the 10 offenses at home. Offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas at home. Chant 16 good rounds. Have the Guru Puja. Have the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Then you're covering all the things of sadhana bhakti. Otherwise you just missed something. You missed your Tulsi Puja, then you're in bad shape. You missed hearing the Bhagavatam class, you're in bad shape. You missed offering your obeisances to the Vaishnavas, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. Oh, you missed it 2 days in the week, 4 days in the week, 5 days in the week, and you call yourself a devotee? Who are you kidding? You're not a devotee. You're just putting some pain on your head. Don't kid yourself. This is not a joke, Krishna consciousness. I don't think people understand that this is a science. Maybe you have more faith in the material scientists because you believe them. You believe what they say about science, that when you put 2 part hydrogen and 1 part oxygen, you get water. Everybody believes that. Then why don't you believe in sadhana bhakti? that if you don't do it, you don't get the result. Why don't you believe? And if you say, well, because the consequence is not serious. The consequence is that after millions of lifetimes, you got a human birth. The consequence is that if you miss this opportunity, how long it will take again until you get this chance. When is the next time you're going to get a human body and get a guru and get the chance to do devotional life? How many births? 50,000 more? Or maybe another yuga? What will it take till you get this chance again? So don't be sloppy about your sadhana. Don't be sloppy about devotional service, because you're just losing the best opportunity you ever got. And there's no excuse. There is no excuse. Believe me, there is zero excuse. No matter what excuse you come up with, Yamaraj doesn't accept it. There's no excuse. The order is to do sadhana bhakti. Everything else you can excuse. I couldn't do it because I had to chant my rounds. Okay, no problem. I couldn't do it because I had to go to the morning program. No problem. But when you say, I couldn't chant my rounds, I couldn't go to the morning program because, then people do. Krishna doesn't accept. It's not acceptable. So like I say, do your program here or do it at home. The only reason we're teaching it here, so if you can't come here, you can do it at home. We don't mind. But do it. And if you think, well, I'll say I'm doing it, but no one will catch me even when I don't do it. Who are you kidding? You think Krishna doesn't see? You think your spiritual master can't see? The spiritual master can see in 1 second. He knows everything. Very easy. Very easy to tell exactly what is the consciousness of somebody. That is the difference between liberation and conditioning. A conditioned soul may be very good. Listen, a conditioned soul may be very good and act in the mode of goodness, but still he is conditioned under the spell of material nature. That's a good point. Someone can act very good. So many nice things he can do, but still he may be a conditioned soul under the nature's satagun. A devotee, however, acts completely under the direction of the Supreme Lord. That I'm trying to teach you, to act under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Thus his actions may not appear to be very high. I'm trying to teach you how to act under the direction of the Supreme Lord. In the beginning, what does the Supreme Lord teach? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, alphabets. When the child goes to school, what's the first lesson he learns? Alphabets. And 2 plus 2 equals 4. 4 minus 2 equals 2. 2 times 2 equals 4. Do you all remember this thing? You're all getting children. Don't they learn this? Now what is the ABC in spiritual life? The morning program. And you're saying, oh, I don't need the morning program. I'm already a PhD. And then you ask the PhD, what is 2 plus 2? And they say 6. I'm already a PhD. I don't need the morning program. But unfortunately, I don't know how to add 2 plus 2. But I'm a PhD. People are so intelligent that they can skip over the most basics, and they will never, ever, ever come to PhD. They are not even in school yet, practically. I have seen people who are initiated devotees, still to this day, you ask them to chant the Samsara prayers or Sri Guru Charanapadma, they don't know the words. I have seen it. I can tell you so many things I've seen. Now, when are we going to get serious about spiritual life? Thus, his actions may not appear to be very high quality to the common man, but the devotee has no responsibility. Arjuna may have seem to be, very angry. Arjuna may have seen so many things when he was fighting at Kurukshetra. And to common people, they may not understand. Just like common people may not understand why you get up in the morning at 3 o'clock, why you go through this whole thing. Why be a Hare Krishna? Go back to your family. Have a nice job. Build up a bank balance. Retire comfortably. Take care of your family. Why are you wasting your time? That's what the common man says. But they don't understand that while they're saying all these things, death is smiling with big face behind them saying, yes, you go on talking like that. So I hope that these lessons that we have been giving about chanting will be carefully understood. I hope everybody here will take these heavy words as a warning from Krishna that we should become very serious about spiritual life. Are there any questions? Okay. So supposing because of some service you have to, first of all, we got to see whether you really had to stay up late. That's the first point. I want to know, that where is the case where someone has to do that. There are not so many cases where one has to stay up late. That's the first point. Generally, it's by your own choice. It's not that you have to. So first point is that most of the time, this is bogus. You don't have to stay up late. And if you say, well, business is better late at night, well, I say it's not better if you're sacrificing your spiritual life. It's very rare case that someone has to stay up. Most people don't have to. But if for some reason you have to, then you have to make up the morning program by sliding it to a later hour. Okay, good. Then you don't start at 4:30, you start at 6:30. But you still got to do the whole morning program. You still got to go through the whole thing. Did you go to Mangal Arti? Did you have an Arti, full Arti? Did you worship Lord Nrsimhadev by saying his prayers? Did you have the Tulsi Puja? Did you offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas? Did you chant your rounds? Did you have the Bhagavatam class? Did you see the deities? Did you take Charnamrita? Well, no, I got up late. So what? Do it later on. Who's stopping you? Oh, well, I'm PhD already. I don't have to. I'm already liberated. I'm such and such. Don't you know me? I'm above the rules and regulations of Scripture. You have, yes, that's right. I say that if the only reason that one should change the schedule and not get up early is in an emergency. Only an emergency, and that's mentioned in Scripture. Emergency service. It's not very usual. It's only unusual. Just like during the Christmas time, some devotees do Sankirtan later. But that's not all year long. That's only during 1 month, and not even the full month usually. That's called emergency. But you don't make the emergency 365 days a year. Traveling? Traveling where? Traveling where? But if you stay in a motel, then you can get up early. Staying in a motel doesn't change the time you get up, and then you have to have your pictures. You have to carry your pictures. Panchatattva picture, Parampara, Guru Parampara picture. So then you set up the pictures in the morning in the hotel room. You take with you Agarbati. You chant the Samsara Dava Nalalita Loka prayers, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, then Hare Krishna. Then when that's finished, next thing you say Premadwani prayers, Jai Om Vishnu Van, and you go through those prayers. Then you chant the Nrsingadev prayers. Also carry a picture of Nrsingadev. Then after that, if you don't have the Tulsi there, then you have a picture of Tulsi Devi. If you don't have a picture, then at least chant the Tulsi prayers, and in your mind, offer the water in your mind. Do it mentally, and circumambulate mentally. Then offer your obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. Even they're not in the same room, in the hotel room, they're all over the world. By the grace of spiritual connection, you can be offering your obeisances to all the Vaishnavas all over the world in your hotel room. Then after that, you sit down for japa, and you chant good rounds. Then after that, by 7 o'clock, close your eyes, and you imagine you're in the Houston Temple. The conch shell blows, the door opens, and there's Radha Nilamadhava, and you get your darshan. You can do the whole thing in your mind if you don't even have a picture. Then after that, take some Chanamrita in your mind if you don't have the Chanamrita. Then after that, sit down and read Bhagavatam for 45 minutes. I tell you, anybody does this will get the same benefit as if they were right here in the temple. How do I say that? Read Nectar of Devotion. Again, I say, you are not reading the books, because in the Nectar of Devotion there's a story about one Brahmin who he was very poor, he could not do nice cooking and other things for the deity. Does anyone know what happened to him? You know the story? Does anyone know? He cooked sweet rice, and then he was worried. There's a nice picture of him in the Nectar of Devotion. He was worried that maybe when I made the offering, the whole thing he was doing in his mind, complete puja in his mind, because he was poor. So then he was worried in his mind, I think the sweet rice is too hot. So in his mind he put his finger in the sweet rice, and what happened? He suddenly woke up from his dream of his remembrance, and he looked at his finger and it was burned. And then in Vaikuntha, Lord Narayan was laughing. And Lakshmi Devis, they were all thinking, why are you laughing? So immediately Lord Narayan sent one, spaceship, Pushpa Viman, and the spaceship took this Brahmin and brought him right into Vaikuntha. And then Lord Narayan explained to Lakshmi Devis that this Brahmin was doing all of this puja simply in his mind, and then he got his finger burned. He was surprised. How could it be? I only did it in the mind. But actually there's no difference, Lord Narayan said. That one does the service or does it in the mind is one and the same. Now you read Nectar of Devotion, you learn all these things. Another question? Who is stopping them from doing it? Is somebody else stopping them? You think so? Okay, let's take someone who works 12 hours a day. Personally, I don't know too many people who do work 12 hours a day, but let's supposing someone works 12 hours. How much time he needs for sleeping? 6? Now we're at 18 hours. How much time he needs for bathing? 1 hour? Now we're at 19 hours. How much time he needs for eating? 1 hour? Now we're at 20 hours. Still he got 4 hours. First of all, I say that anybody that works 12 hours is a mudha. That's the first point. I don't believe that you have to work 12 hours. I don't believe that. That to just make ends meet, you have to work 12 hours. But I'm saying even if you want to be a mudha and work 12 hours so you can become rich or whatever, still you have, as I explained to you, there's still 4 hours remaining. That morning program takes how much time? Maybe 3 to 4 hours. So you still got time. Now if you say, well, when is he going to be with his family? Then that's his problem. Don't take the time off the 4 hours of the morning program. Stop being a mudha and work 12 hours. Work 8 hours and be with your family 4 hours. Normal people don't work 12 hours. There are very few people that I know that work 12 hours. But if they want to, then what that means is there's no time for family life. But then they say, no, I'm not going to take the time from the family. I'm going to take the time from the morning program. That's their choice. Then you cannot say they cannot. You can say they don't want to. Who is the full-time devotee that cannot do the program? I think you have used the wrong word. They can do if they want, but they don't want to. Because they're not experienced devotees. They're not trained. They're not strict. Oh, that's different. Now you're talking another point. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita says most people don't have that determination. Very few. Out of thousands of persons, one will endeavor for perfection. One will become a devotee. Out of thousands of people, one becomes a devotee. And out of 1,000 devotees, one knows Krishna in truth. I remember giving a lecture in this room or another room. I always ask, who will be here 3 years from now? Who will be here 4 years from now? And I remember that lecture, and some of the people who were at that lecture are not here now. They're not here now. And I can say the same thing. If I say it now, who will be here 4 years from now? You think every single person sitting in this room will be here? You think they'll all still be trying, or someone will give up? What do you think? But is it because they could not, or because they chose not to? Is it cannot, or is it choice? Is it force or choice? It's choice. I don't see any difference between so-called full-time devotee and so-called whatever the other person is called. I see no difference in terms of... Let me ask you a question. How many chapatis does a full-time devotee eat? Same number as the other type of devotee? And how much they do? Everything the same. So why do you think that the sadhana is different? If to keep a human body alive requires the same, whether they're full-time or part-time, I say to keep you alive spiritually is the same requirement also. Yeah. The best thing is that to not accumulate anything. That way in old age, you're already accustomed to having nothing. The best thing to get ready for old age is to already give up everything. That way when you're old, you're already not worried. Better to renounce everything now when you're young and you can give it up. So when you're old, it'll be very easy. You won't have anything. Instead of worrying about how to accumulate so many things for later on. Okay, we're going to stop now. I'm getting a little tired. So, okay, Jai. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga.